The Independent Production Fund for sponsoring this session, and without further ado, let you. The session is called No Due Date, Keeping Drama Fresh, and with us we have to my immediate Knizhnik, and Laurie is a Canadian writer from Montreal. She began working as a writer for the French film producer Samuel Hadida on action scripts. From there, she went on to write for the series Cold Squad and Bliss, and she now serves as executive producer, co-creator, and the sole writer on the Genie Award-winning series Durham County, which has just completed its second season this summer. Gemini. What did I say? Genie. Wow. It was so film-like. It just feels like it should be a genie, too. Maybe they'll put you up for that, too. Alongside we have Molly Newman. Molly is an Emmy Award-winning television writer and producer. She is currently executive producer of the ABC series Brothers and Sisters. Her varied television career includes various comedies like Larry Sanders Show, Frasier, Murphy Brown, and Tracy Takes On. She began as a playwright, and she's been nominated for a Tony Award for her Broadway production of her play Quilters. Her plays have been produced on main stages throughout the USA, and she also has a background as an actress, which informs her writing. Alongside, we also have Davhi Waller. Davhi is another Canadian from Montreal, and she is the writer and co-producer on Mad Men, joining the show in its third season. She began her writing career in 2005 as a staff writer on the ABC series Commander-in-Chief. Waller then worked on ABC series Desperate Housewives for 3 seasons. In 2008, she served as co-producer on Ellie Stone. She also earned a BA in history from Princeton University. And I think we should also just say congratulations on all the success of Mad Men, recent success at the Emmys. So we met earlier on today to discuss the session, and we felt that there were a lot of big issues to cover in the session and wanted to see if we could get as specific as possible on some things. So we are going to start by addressing some of the broader issues that were discussed in the session setup, but we will eventually move into character, as character is the beginning and the end of everything. So to start off, we are going to run a few clips of the shows just so that you have a sense of what everything is. So first off, we're going to show a clip from, do you want to explain more what we're doing for the first clip? What
is that it's a year in, I don't know, a minute. It's our whole season. But I thought it was sort of interesting just to show how do you keep drama fresh, all the extents that we go to get from 1 to 24. We do 24 episodes a season, so this is just a very quick version.
Summer Shorts, full season recaps of your favorite shows. Right now, Brothers and Sisters.
The year starts out great for the Walkers until, a secret's revealed. That William Walker could so not keep it in his pants. I hate you, William Walker! Laura goes on a quest to find a secret missing child named Ryan. Oh, of course, Mom. Holly unleashes an evil plot to take over the family business. I'm speechless. Sarah's like, all done. I'm going to start a business with 2 young hot guys. Nora starts a charity and has a little love-hate relationship with a very passionate British architect. Rob and Kitty try to have a baby and decide on adoption instead. Speaking of babies, Tommy's little Elizabeth has a crisis and needs a liver transplant, which means the identity of her biological father has to be revealed. Justin or Kevin? It's Kevin! Meanwhile, long-lost child Ryan resurfaces. Kitty's dream of adoption is about to be realized when the child goes into labor. At the exact moment, Robert has a heart attack. I'm done. The baby is born and Robert dies. Yes, he dies. No, I'm dying. But don't worry, he comes back to life. Now it's Tommy's turn to unleash an evil plot to take back the family business. A plot so evil, it's illegal, and he could wind up in jail.
This is bad.
But not until he goes to Mexico with his 2 brothers, which gives him an idea. Adios, amigos. I'm not coming back.
This is really bad.
Kitty makes goo-goo eyes with a nice symbol back in the park. Robert finds out and is all like, what? I don't think so. The Walkers all descend on Mexico, swine flu or no swine flu, in search of Tommy. Just a hot question, Robert lays down the law.
You want separation, you got it.
And in the end, the Walkers all sing Kumbaya. No, really, they all sing Kumbaya.
You're all caught up and ready for the new season of Brothers and Sisters, Sunday, September 27th. And if you want to see any of this in real time, 4 episodes are available right now on Hulu and ABC.com.
You need the commercial, sorry.
So after watching that, it may be no surprise to you that we're going to talk about juggling multiple characters in a show. And now we're going to move on to a clip from Durham County so that you get a bit of sense of
hope it works.
You're gonna love it up here, say it. Go down the lake shore. You, me, Maddie, your mother.
The people you bought it from divorced, huh? The land of the living dead. God, I hate it. It's Disneyland.
Welcome to Durham.
Thanks for this, Mike. Hi, welcome to the neighborhood.
Mike Sweeney.
Nice, Tracy Prager.
He said Prager.
What's the matter?
I realized I know Ray Prager from high school, and we didn't get along.
Mike Sweeney. Wow. We did survival school together. Great old days. As an animal.
So I understand you got a couple of missing girls.
Welcome to Durham. I haven't greenlit your transfer yet. I want to get to know you first.
Her hair's been cut at the side here. Toit took a souvenir.
We have a suspect, might be a serial killer.
Did you know I was here when you moved in?
No? Is that gonna be a problem? Where were you the night Newman was killed?
Are you kidding me?
I hate this place, and I hate you.
I've got Ray Prager as a person of interest in 2 letters.
What else haven't you told me?
The guy who lived in your house, he slit his wrist, and there was so much blood on the bedroom floor. He had to use a wet pack.
You think he could kill me?
That's enough!
I get you. Welcome to Durham.
Girl.
So, totally very different. So we're looking for unifying themes in this session. We'll get there somehow. And finally, we're going to go on to clips from Mad Men. And this is actually, do you want to set this clip up?
Sure. It'll be a little slower paced. It's the first episode of season 3. And as you know, at the end of season 2, the British took over. I think only episode 1 is aired in Canada, right?
Yeah.
The British have taken over, and this sort of introduces the new British characters and what's been going on in the company in the last 6 months.
I think John actually needs a couple more minutes to get the DVD to 8:31.
Did you go to the Emmys? Talk about the Emmys. Did you go?
I did. The Emmys were a lot of fun.
Who did you wear?
Who cares what the writers are wearing? We're like second-class citizens.
But you got to go up on stage and,
No, I wasn't on second season. Next year, hopefully.
yeah.
Yeah, this is just one thing, just while we're waiting for the clip to start, that I just want to point out, is that we have 3 very, very different writing situations here, in that Molly has been on the show Brothers and Sisters since its inception, and it's now in 4 seasons, and they do 24 episodes per season. Davhi has just started on the 3rd season, but when I say just started, you're actually...
We just wrapped, yeah.
You've just wrapped the 3rd season, so... and we're just starting to see it. And then Laurie is actually, she's co-creator of the series, but sole writer. And that's 6 episodes per series, and she's written 3 seasons. She's just about to do the final script in the 3rd season. So it's a very, very different situation. And we're also going to talk briefly after this clip about how their writing rooms work, and I guess that's going to be a shorter conversation with Laurie than with the others. So, okay, John, if you're ready, we'll roll the clip.
Morning, Bert. Don? Bert? Wayne?
We need you to have a seat, Bert.
Okay. You got a blindfold, too? This isn't easy.
It really isn't.
thought. I really thought I'd made it.
I know it's unkind, but it's generous and it's fair.
So why the hell did you wait so long?
It was brought to our attention that your wife was undergoing radiation. We thought it decent to wait.
That was decent. Sorry I'm late. Did I miss anything? Oh, it's that meeting. Sorry about that. Wasn't easy. We'll see how you do without my Rolodex.
We're going to take that risk.
You make me sick. You're the dying empire. We're the future.
Bird, control yourself.
I'm the head of accounts, damn it! I'm sure we'll regret it. I'm serious. See you on the breadlines, fellas. Is that the last of it? Because I don't like how much I'm getting used to these.
I don't know anything you don't know.
You understand there's no point ever in making over $40,000 when you'll be taxed 69%? You're working for them. And God forbid you really make it, everything over 70 grand is 81%.
Even if you're married.
Fellow comrades in mediocrity, I want you to listen very carefully. You can all go straight to hell.
Verity's going in-house at Nabisco.
You're sure it's not starting
Mr.
yet?
Campbell's office?
What?
I'll let him know.
Firing us.
Mr. Campbell, Mr. Price wants to see you.
So there we have it. So maybe let's start just briefly by giving a sense of what it's like in your writing rooms, as they're all quite different. Laurie, can you kick off?
Quiet.
So in terms of, because you actually write everything alone, can you just give us a sense, how does one person manage all of that? Are you incredibly fast?
It's not fast because I start very early on. I mean, we know they finally kind of tell us in February that we're probably maybe going to go.
Yeah.
They don't ever.
Probably maybe.
They use a lot of adjectives, right? Yeah. But you're kind of scrambling because you know it's only you, and you've really got to have something. Mm-hmm. You have to, be able to pitch something. You have to be able to have something that's going to sort of work, and so I start early.
And when you're at the stage where the network is telling you they're about to go ahead, you've already pitched the entire series to them, so you
I've pitched probably about 3 or 4 pages, and we were surprised this year because I thought
per episode or for the season?
No, for the season.
Okay.
I don't write outlines. I told them I won't write outlines because it doesn't make sense in this kind of a situation, because I basically know the beginning and I know the ending. I know who the antagonist is, and I know a couple of midpoints. And
over the entire series.
Over the 6.
Yeah.
And the writing is such that you can do very broad stroke springboard kind of things, about 10 pages, but they're not the kinds of outlines that broadcasters tend to want to see. And I find the whole idea of writing outlines in this kind of drama really difficult, because there's a real process of discovery. You have to be able to throw something in a scene and see how things might turn out differently if you looked at it this way or looked at it this way, and that'll affect stuff down the line. So it's very free form.
Right. You have also sold this series to ION in the U.S.
Yes.
So what does that mean in terms of broadcaster feedback to your writing?
There are 3 executives, one of whom is Shelley Gillen, who should be here today for the first season. TMN and Movie Central, Michelle Marion, Erica Benson, and now Diane Boehm. And they all really are just kind of interested in talking about what it might be, and they don't really sit on you. It's great.
So you have kind of the dream scenario that everybody's...
Yeah, but I would have left.
Right.
I couldn't really deal with the notes because of the way that I work. I can't write outlines. I have fully admit that I cannot write an outline. I find them really boring and really restrictive, and it drives me crazy. I was going to write a novel. I thought, okay, I'm going to pitch this, Durham County, and this is it. And I was terrified that they were going to screw it up, the first scene, because the first scene is so violent, and it could be such a piece of gratuitous crap, really, if it was not done well. And Hollydale,
Did a great job. She's the director.
yeah.
For 6.
But it was, I wasn't going to do anything after. I was going to turn it into a novel, and that was the end of that. I made sure I kept my book rights, and, you know, if they were going to replace me,
But you
I was
just
gonna-
left them all wanting more. And because one of the things that's, can we just have a show of hands, how many people here have seen Durham County? Okay, because I mean, one of the things that's unique about Durham County is that it feels very filmic. You feel like you're on a long journey, and that suddenly you're ripped out of that journey at the end of the episode. It's not as though it's tidily packaged within them. It's like you want to see the rest of the film when you're watching it. So it's a very different sense than many episodes where it's nicely packaged by the time you get out. And but it also is, I have to say, one of the most uncomfortable pieces of television I've ever watched. But at the same time, I just totally wanted to go back for more. So congratulations on that. I think it's fantastic. So now, Molly, that yours is, you've got many, many characters who you are juggling in this.
Yeah.
And you have how many writers on staff?
We have, along with, we have some sort of intern types and things like that, but I think there are generally 14 people in the room, possible in the room. Now, very often we'll have people off writing on a specific episode, and then very often, particularly at the upper levels, there are fires that have to be put out for various reasons in production. But there are a lot of people in there, and of varying levels, so it's a difficult, one person generally runs the room and keeps things moving along, and you know, you really have to go, no, yes, you know, that kind of thing, and still keep the enthusiasm up, and also make sure that you're mentoring the younger writers and who are terrified a lot of the times, particularly at the beginning of the season. You can just watch them sit there going, say something, say something, say something. And, you know, and I really feel for them. And it's like, no, it's okay, just listen for a while and then you'll get it. And I forgot to turn off my phone.
Sorry.
So that's how we do it. So we, you know, I'm sure all of you have seen the dry erase board, and we put them all up there, and we now have 6 acts. We used to have 4, and then suddenly it expanded because actually contracted because there are more commercials in between. So we work out our 6 acts, and then we pitch it to the network in the studio, then we go to outline, then we write the script, then we get notes on that.
How long do you get for outline? Sorry. How long do you get for outline?
Well, we got this year we got up to a shaky start. We've been up to a shaky start many times, and particularly even with the pilot. So we're a little bit behind. But generally, we should, in a perfect world, take maybe 4 or 5 days to break it in the room, and then a day or 2 to write the outline. Then we'll send it over, get notes back, and then. Again, in a perfect world, you'd have a week or 10 days to write the script. But for instance, on the premiere this year, a lot of staff changes happened, and we were in prep and literally wrote it in 3 days.
Now, you had mentioned earlier that sometimes you split an episode with another writer. Can you explain how that works?
Actually, for this show, and I've never been on a show like this before, every episode is split. And very often it's an executive producer, or, and we should talk about those levels. Would now be a good time?
Sure,
okay. A lot of you probably already know this, but I think it's good to reiterate. In the U.S., you pretty much have to hit every rung on the ladder, and so staff writers start out, that's the first level, and then you go to story editor, and sometimes it'll take a year, sometimes 2 years even, to get out of the staff writer ghetto. So you go story editor, executive story editor, co-producer, producer, supervising producer, co-executive producer, executive producer. So, you know, you can grow old trying to get up to the top of the ladder. But So very often we'll have a staff writer or, someone in the co-producer, that kind of level, and then an upper level writer together, because this is a very difficult show to get the tone right. But it's also, we just have a lot of characters who need to be serviced, and a lot of points of view, and all of our actors have a lot of hardware on their mantles. We've got, Sally Field has multiple Academy Awards and Emmys and Golden Globes, and Callista Flockhart, same thing, and Rachel Griffiths, same thing. So they all want their storylines, and they want, they want their time on screen. So it just takes a lot lot to
So
get.
diplomacy is a big part of the job.
Yes, yes it is. Yeah, it is.
Okay, and Davhi, what about you in your writer's room?
I actually work on Mad Men as a cable show, so we only do 13 episodes a season. The writer's room starts up about 2.5 months before production, and the idea is to give you a little time ahead before you get into production to get a lot of scripts in the pipeline. But invariably, we always fall behind. I think that's the rule of writer's rooms. You're never quite ahead. So we'll spend a couple of weeks at the beginning of the season talking about the season as a whole. What are the arcs for the various characters? Our creator, Matt Weiner, always has a very strong vision for the show and a very specific idea of where he wants the characters to begin and where he wants to take them during the season. And then we start filling in by episode. Once we have an idea for what's going to happen to each character for the season, we start filling in and breaking each episode. And then we actually do things a little differently than on Brothers and Sisters. We generate the outline in the room with our writer's assistant who's taking notes. We give her about a half an hour to cobble that into an outline. And then the creator of the show will assign an episode to a writer and usually have about a week to write a first draft, and you get notes, and then you have another week to write a second draft. And so I guess that adds up to 2 weeks. Never seems like enough time. There's so much research that you have to do on a show set in the 60s that you end up spending a lot a was this word used, and what was
So you don't have a researcher on, somebody who's dedicated
We do not
to
have a dedicated researcher. We have a consultant who used to be an ad executive in the early 60s at BBDO in New York, and he's an amazing resource. And we have a sort of ad hoc researcher who we can go to, and a lot of interns who do research, but to really make sure it's accurate, I often do my own research. I've been reading a lot of New York Times articles from 1963, reading books from the 60s, movies, anything you can get your hand on. I actually said to Matthew, I feel like I'm in film school and in grad school and writing on television. Basically, you have no life, but that's
Well, one of the things that was interesting at the Emmys this year is that a number of people who went up on stage basically made a pitch for getting placed in Mad Men, on the Mad Men stage. So I'm just curious, how did you get in?
As a writer, so funny because when I was on a show called Eli Stone and it was canceled in November, and my sister calls me. I told her to watch Mad Men, and she forgot that I had been the one to tell her this. She thought she had come up with this bright idea, and she said, Davhi, you know what show you should really write for is Mad Men. And I said, that's adorable, but it's a hard show to get on. And a week later, I got a call from my agents that Matt Weiner had read a play of mine and wanted to meet with me. And the big joke is there are so many women on staff. And he thought I was a guy, and I think he was a little disappointed when I walked in, and he's like, not another woman. And he really liked this play, and we had a great meeting, and I feel very lucky to, that's sort of how I got in.
That's great. Molly, we're going to jump back to you. Multi-character juggling act. How do you do it?
It's really hard. Occasionally we just have to move some people to the side, and then we get the call, and then we get, the meeting, and, why am I not in this enough? And then you have to assuage hurt feelings and all that sort of thing. We've run into a couple of times where we didn't intend to have a storyline sort of fall out or a character sort of fall out, but then for various real life reasons. In one case, our actor Balthazar Gaddy, who he fell off the way. He's a recovering addict, and he unfortunately got mixed up with drugs again, and he was coming to the set.
So you sent him to Mexico.
So we sent him to Mexico. And then Rachel Griffiths had her third baby. She had a very difficult delivery. We thought she'd be back for the beginning of the season, and she was very sick and in bed for a long time, so we sent her to France. So you get to travel really well. That bad things happen to you. So, and then you have to be flexible and you have to react to these things, which
Right.
we didn't expect this to happen, particularly with the Balthazar thing.
But in terms of kind of techniques in creating structure for so many storylines and so many characters, do you have a visual method of doing it, or like do you use charts, or how do you track it?
It's, it's pretty dopey, but we have many different colored markers that we use. And it just, and I think sort of visually, I need to look at the board to see how the stories are panning out. And we literally put Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, because it's longer, and 4 is longer, and 5 and 6. So these two are kind of short. And if you look at the board and there's not enough pink, that means that Callista Flockhart you're going to get the call. So, you really start to see visually what you need to do. And, but at the beginning of the season, in the same way that Davhi does, we come up with these arcs. And so we try to balance everybody. And this is the problem with the 4th season is, we've had, I don't know, 2 or 3 marriages on the show and babies and a couple of miscarriages and a couple of heart attacks and now cancer. And, so you try to, now that Callista Flockhart is playing cancer, we don't have so much for Sally Field to do. And so she's not entirely happy with us about that. And but we try year to year to give everybody, a real big driving story for the whole season. And this year it's Callista. Last year she had to sit by because she was playing Rob Lowe's wife and he was running for president and this sort of thing. So she didn't get much to do. So it's a balancing act.
Right. Okay, well, maybe we'll take a look at another clip from your show. Do you want to set up the clip that
this
you
is
got?
another thing too. This has a clip that has...
This is from Brothers and Sisters, John.
Brothers and Sisters. It's just a clip. We sort of, one of our sort of iconic, if I can use that expression, moments on the show, we tend to have these big family dinners or family get-togethers, and there's generally some sort of fight or something that happens. But it's very difficult because we have all of these really talented actors on stage at the same time, and in order to do coverage, which is shooting, all the reaction shots and all the shots that we have to do, they have to spend all day on stage doing these scene, the scene over and over and over again, and it's very taxing for the actors. And again, you have to balance everything out because you can't have Rob Lowe being more or less an extra in a scene, just standing there with 2 things to say all day long. So again, it's very difficult to. And I often will draw a map and put everybody on it and start drawing lines between who's talking to each other and who knows what and what point of view and all that sort of thing. But this is just one of the scenes where pretty much everybody comes in and plays through. And it's Danny Glover, another Academy Award winner, has just asked Sally Field's character to move to Washington, D.C. with him and live with him there.
Great. Okay.
And the kids don't like it.